Captain Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the strange readings on his screen. The research vessel, UN's Explorer, had been traveling through empty space for 3 weeks, searching for new worlds that humans might someday call home. Now they had found something that would change everything. "Captain, you need to see this," called Dr. Amy Collins from her station. The science officer had been studying the planet below them for hours. It looked dead and empty, just another rock floating in space. But her instruments were telling a different story. Jake walked over to her workstation. The planet's surface appeared normal through the viewport, covered in gray dust and ancient craters. Nothing seemed special about it. "What have you found, Amy?" "There's something buried deep underground. The metal readings are unlike anything we've ever seen. The structure is huge, maybe the size of a small city." Amy's voice trembled with excitement. "Captain, I think we've found something that doesn't belong to us." Jake felt his heart race. In all of humanity's travels through space, they had never found proof of other intelligent life. Earth scientists had always wondered if humans were alone in the universe. Now they might have their answer. "Take us down," Jake ordered. "But keep the engines ready. If this is what I think it is, we might need to leave quickly." The Explorer descended through the thin atmosphere. The landing was rough, kicking up clouds of ancient dust that hadn't been disturbed in thousands of years. Jake suited up with his team and stepped onto the planet's surface. The gravity was lighter than Earth's, making each step feel like a small bounce. Dr. Collins led them to where her scanners showed the strongest readings. They found what looked like a small hill, but when Amy ran her equipment over it, the truth became clear. This was no natural formation. Something massive lay buried beneath their feet. "Start digging," Jake ordered his crew. They used their tools to clear away the dust and rock. Within an hour, they uncovered smooth metal that gleamed, despite being buried for ages. Strange symbols covered the surface, unlike any writing humans had ever seen. "My God," whispered Amy as she traced the symbols with her gloved hand. "This is definitely not human." They found an opening that led into darkness. Jake activated his helmet lights and stepped inside. The corridor was tall enough for beings much larger than humans. The walls were covered with more of the strange writing, and small lights began to glow as they walked deeper into the structure. "The lights are responding to our presence," Amy observed. "Whatever built this place, their technology is far beyond ours." They reached a large chamber filled with floating panels of light. Amy approached one of the panels and gasped. Images began appearing in the air above it, showing star maps and ships unlike anything humans had built. The technology was reading her mind somehow, showing her information it thought she wanted to see. "Captain, this is incredible. This device is teaching me their language. I can understand some of these symbols now." Amy's hands shook as she worked with the alien interface. They called themselves the Architects. They built this place as a library, a record of their civilization. Jake watched as more images appeared. He saw great cities floating in space, ships that could travel between stars in moments instead of years, and weapons that could destroy entire planets. The Architects had been masters of the galaxy long before humans even existed. What happened to them? Jake asked. Amy studied the flowing images more carefully. Her face grew pale as she began to understand the story they told. They were betrayed. 2 of their vassal races turned against them. The Architects tried to keep peace in the galaxy, but these rebels wanted power for themselves. The images showed a great war that tore the galaxy apart. The Architects fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. In the end, they were completely destroyed, their great civilization reduced to hidden libraries like this one. "The rebels who destroyed them," Amy said quietly, "they're still out there. They built empires of their own, the Kryn hegemony and the Vex Confederation. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Those names were familiar. Earth's long-range sensors had detected signs of these civilizations in distant parts of the galaxy. Human leaders had always assumed they were too far away to matter. Now Jake realized how wrong they had been. "Download everything you can," Jake ordered. "We need to get this information back to Earth immediately." Amy worked frantically with the alien technology. The database was massive, containing thousands of years of architect knowledge. She managed to copy their language files and basic technological information before the system began to shut down. "The library is sealing itself," Amy said. "It only opens for a short time when someone finds it. We need to leave now." They ran back through the corridors as the lights began to dim. The entrance sealed itself behind them just as they reached the surface. Within minutes, the sand began to blow back over the hidden structure, erasing all signs of their discovery. Back aboard the Explorer, Jake sent an urgent message to Earth. A transmission would take weeks to reach home, but it contained the most important news in human history. They were not alone in the universe, and they had enemies they didn't even know existed. Dr. Collins worked day and night to understand the architect files they had recovered. What she learned made her hands shake with fear. The architects had been peaceful explorers, much like humans. They had tried to bring different species together in harmony. But the Kryn and Vex had seen cooperation as weakness. "The Kryn are warriors," Amy explained to Jake. "They believe that only the strong deserve to live. They've conquered hundreds of worlds, enslaving or destroying every species they encounter." "And the Vex?" Jake asked. "Worse in some ways. They consume everything. They strip planets bare of resources, leaving nothing but dead rocks behind. They view other species as nothing more than tools to be used and discarded." Jake studied the star maps Amy had downloaded. Both empires were vast, controlling thousands of star systems each. Their technology was centuries ahead of humanity's. If they ever learned about Earth, humans wouldn't stand a chance. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. Amy calculated the distances involved. "If they discover us tomorrow, their fastest ships could reach Earth in about 6 months. But Jake, there's something else." The architect database mentioned something called quantum drive technology. If either empire develops that, they could reach us in weeks instead of months. Jake sent another urgent message to Earth, this one marked with every priority code he knew. Humanity needed to prepare for war, and they needed to do it quickly. The galaxy was not the empty, peaceful place they had imagined. It was ruled by empires that would see humans as nothing more than insects to be crushed out as the Explorer began its journey back to Earth. Jake couldn't stop thinking about the architect ruins they had left behind. Somewhere in the galaxy, the descendants of the beings who had destroyed that peaceful civilization were still expanding their empires. They had spent thousands of years believing they were the galaxy's supreme powers. Soon they would learn that humanity existed. And when they did, Jake feared that the same fate that had befallen the architects would come for Earth. The only question was whether humans would be ready when that day arrived. Amy continued studying the alien files, searching for any advantage they might give humanity. Hidden in the technical data were hints of weapons and defenses that might level the playing field. But would there be enough time to understand and build such things before the enemy arrived? The Explorer raced through space toward home, carrying knowledge that would change everything. Behind them, the dead planet kept its secrets, waiting for the next species to discover the truth about the galaxy's dark history. Admiral Helen Carter stood in the command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, staring at the screens that showed Earth's desperate preparations for war. 3 weeks had passed since Captain Norrison's urgent messages had reached Earth. Weeks since humanity learned they were not alone in the universe, and that deadly enemies were coming for them. The discovery had shattered the world. When President Karen Williams first addressed the United Nations about the alien threat, half the delegates refused to believe her. The other half panicked. Within hours, riots broke out in major cities as people struggled to accept that Earth faced extinction from enemies they had never known existed. "Admiral, we have confirmation from Agent Lisa Brooks," reported Commander Ben Taylor, his face grim as he read the intelligence report. "Both alien fleets are on the move. Our deep space monitoring stations detected massive energy signatures leaving their home territories." Helen felt her stomach drop. Lisa Brooks ran Earth's most secret intelligence network, the one that had been quietly watching the galaxy for signs of hostile activity. If Lisa said the aliens were coming, it was true. "How long do we have?" Helen asked. Ben checked his calculations again, hoping he had made an error. "The Kryn fleet will arrive in 4 months. The Vex are taking a different route, but they'll get here around the same time. It looks like they're racing each other to reach us first. 4 months to prepare for a war against enemies whose technology was centuries ahead of humanity's." Helen had been a military officer for 30 years, but she had never faced odds like these. Earth's entire space fleet consisted of about 300 ships, most of them designed for exploration and research, not combat. "What's the status on our defensive preparations?" Helen asked Colonel Ryan Davis, who was coordinating the evacuation of humanity's outer colonies. Ryan's report was not encouraging. "We've managed to evacuate most of the civilian populations from our border settlements, but we had to abandon a lot of equipment and supplies. The colonists are asking questions we can't answer. They want to know why they had to leave their homes so suddenly." Helen understood their confusion. The government had decided to keep the full truth secret from most of the population. Only key military and political leaders knew about the coming alien invasion. Everyone else was told that dangerous solar radiation made the outer colonies temporarily unsafe. Captain Megan Turner joined their meeting, her uniform dirty from supervising construction work in orbit around Earth. "Admiral, the orbital defense platforms are 60% complete. We're working around the clock, but the weapon systems are proving difficult to install. The defense platforms were humanity's best hope for protecting Earth itself. Each one was equipped with the most powerful weapons humans had ever built, along with shields based on technology found in the Architect database. But even with Dr. Collins and her team working to understand the alien science, progress was slow. "How many platforms will be ready in time?" Helen asked. "Maybe 40, if we're lucky," Megan replied. "We need at least 100 to have any real chance of stopping an invasion fleet." Helen nodded grimly. Every report brought more bad news. Humanity was simply not ready for this war. They needed years to prepare, but they only had months. Dr. Amy Collins entered the command center, looking exhausted after another sleepless night studying Architect technology. She carried a tablet filled with her latest translations from the alien database. "Admiral, I have updates from my research team," Amy said. "Dr. Paul Henderson has made progress understanding their shield technology, and engineer Maria Santos thinks she can adapt their weapon designs to our manufacturing capabilities." "That's the first good news I've heard all day," Helen replied. "What did you learn?" Amy activated her tablet, showing holographic displays of alien technology. The architects were incredibly advanced, but they built their devices to be understood by other species. It's like they wanted to share their knowledge. "Paul believes we can create basic versions of their shields within 2 months." "And the weapons?" Helen asked. "More complicated," Amy admitted. "Maria has identified several weapon types that we might be able to build, but they require materials we don't have easy access to. We'd need to mine asteroids and process rare elements. That takes time we don't have." Helen studied the alien designs floating above Amy's tablet. The technology was beautiful, and terrifying at the same time. These were tools created by a peaceful civilization to defend themselves against the same enemies now approaching Earth. Commander Steve Adams, who led humanity's reconnaissance forces, brought more disturbing intelligence. Admiral, our long-range scouts have intercepted alien communications. We can't understand most of it, but the message is clear. Both empires see Earth as a prize to be claimed. Have they detected our preparations? Helen asked. Not yet, but it's only a matter of time. Our industrial activity has increased dramatically. Once they get close enough for detailed scans, they'll know we're getting ready to fight. Helen walked to the large display screen that showed Earth's solar system. Red markers indicated where alien fleets were expected to arrive. Blue markers showed the positions of human ships and defensive installations. The difference in numbers was overwhelming. President Williams entered the command center, her face showing the strain of leading humanity through its darkest hour. Admiral, I need your honest assessment. Can we win this war? Helen had been dreading this question. As Earth's senior military officer, she owed the President complete honesty. Madam President, in a direct battle, we cannot defeat either alien fleet. Our only chance is to make the cost of conquering Earth too high for them to accept. You're talking about making them bleed for every mile, the President said. Exactly. If we can inflict enough damage, they might decide Earth isn't worth the effort. But that strategy requires sacrifices that... Helen's voice trailed off. The President understood. Making the aliens pay a high price meant that most of humanity's defenders would die in the process. Earth might survive, but at a cost that would haunt the survivors forever. Dr. Collins looked up from her research. There might be another option. The Architect database mentioned something called deep storage facilities, locations where they hid their most advanced technology before the final battle. Are any of these facilities near Earth? Helen asked. I'm still searching the star maps, but Amy pointed to several systems within 50 light-years of Earth. If we could find even one intact facility, it might contain weapons that could change everything. Helen felt a spark of hope for the first. Time in weeks. How long would it take to search these systems? With our fastest ships, maybe 6 weeks per system. But Admiral, we'd be dividing our forces when we need every ship to defend Earth. It was an impossible choice. Send ships to search for ancient weapons that might not exist, or keep every available vessel to defend humanity's home world. Either way, they were gambling with the survival of their species. Captain Morrison's voice crackled over the communication system from his ship, still racing back to Earth with more Architect data. Admiral Carter, I have additional information about our enemies. The database shows battle records from the final war. What did you learn, Captain? Helen asked. The Kryn and Vex hate each other almost as much as they'll hate us. They've been fighting a cold war for thousands of years. If we're lucky, they might spend as much effort attacking each other as they do attacking us. This was useful intelligence. Enemy fleets that fought each other would be weaker when they reached Earth, but Helen couldn't count on alien politics to save humanity. They needed to be ready for the worst possible scenario. As the meeting ended, Helen remained in the command center, studying the tactical displays. In 4 months, Earth would face its greatest test. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew the answer, and they wished they had remained ignorant. Outside, construction crews worked frantically to complete the orbital defenses. In secret facilities around the world, engineers struggled to understand alien technology that could save their species. And in the depths of space, 2 massive fleets approached Earth, each determined to claim the prize that would decide the galaxy's future. The storm was gathering, and humanity could only hope they would survive what was coming. The alien fleets arrived on a Tuesday morning, Earth time. Admiral Helen Carter watched from the command center as her screens filled with red warnings. Hundreds of enemy ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, their massive forms blocking. Out the stars. Captain Tony Mitchell commanded the UN's Guardian, one of Earth's most advanced warships positioned near Mars. His crew had been waiting for this moment for weeks, but nothing could have prepared them for what they saw through their viewports. "My God," whispered his weapons officer, Lieutenant Sam Brooks. "There are so many of them." The Kryn fleet consisted of over 800 vessels, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. Their ships looked like giant metal predators, covered in weapon ports and armor plating. Behind them came the Vex fleet, nearly 600 ships that resembled massive insects with glowing green engines. Admiral Carter opened communication channels to both alien fleets, hoping against hope that diplomacy might still be possible. Her message was broadcast in every language Dr. Collins had learned from the Architect database. "This is Admiral Helen Carter of Earth Defense Command. You are entering human territory. We wish to negotiate a peaceful solution to this conflict." The response came immediately from the Kryn fleet. War Marshal Vikvar's image appeared on the main screen, showing a creature that looked like a cross between a lizard and a bear. His voice was deep and filled with contempt. "Humans are insects that have stolen technology beyond their understanding. Surrender the Architect artifacts and submit to Kryn rule. You have 1 hour to comply." Before Carter could respond, another alien face appeared on a second screen. Vex Overlord Zinthara looked like a giant spider with glowing red eyes. Her voice was sharp and cold. "The Architect legacy belongs to the Vex Confederation. Humans will deliver all artifacts to our ships and accept integration into our resource collective. Resistance is pointless." Admiral Carter felt her heart sink. Both aliens spoke as if humanity had no right to exist as a free species. They offered only slavery or death. "We cannot accept either demand," Carter replied. "Earth is willing to share the Architect knowledge with all species, but we will not surrender our freedom." Both alien commanders laughed, a sound that chilled. Everyone in the command center. "Then you will be exterminated," Vikvar growled. "Your species is too primitive to be allowed survival." The communication ended. Within minutes, both alien fleets began moving toward the inner solar system. They advanced slowly, clearly confident that nothing could stop them. Captain Mitchell received his orders from Admiral Carter. "Tony, take your squadron and harass their advance. Don't engage in direct combat. Just slow them down and gather intelligence." Mitchell knew it was a suicide mission, but someone had to buy time for Earth's final preparations. He led 12 human ships toward the approaching Armada, their tiny forms dwarfed by the alien vessels. The first skirmish occurred near Jupiter. Mitchell's squadron used hit-and-run tactics, striking at the edges of the alien formation before retreating. Their weapons barely scratched the enemy ship's armor, but they learned valuable information about alien defensive capabilities. "Admiral, their shields are incredibly strong," Mitchell reported during a brief break in the fighting. "Our best weapons are only doing minor damage. We need to concentrate all our firepower on single targets to have any effect." The news was devastating. If Earth's most advanced weapons could barely damage alien ships, the coming battle would be a massacre. Dr. Amy Collins worked frantically in her laboratory, trying to unlock more Architect secrets that might help humanity survive. Her team had discovered references to powerful weapons in the alien database, but the technical details were incomplete. "We're missing something important," she told her assistant, Dr. Paul Henderson. "The Architects built defensive systems that could stop the Kryn and Vex fleets, but I can't figure out how they worked." "Maybe the answer isn't in the database," Paul suggested. "Maybe it's still out there, waiting to be found." Amy stared at the star charts on her wall. 3 human ships had been sent to search for Architect storage facilities, but none had reported back yet. Earth might fall before they could return with help. The alien fleets reached Mars after 5 days of steady advance. Captain Mitchell's squadron had been reduced to 4 ships, the others destroyed in desperate attacks that accomplished little. The survivors retreated to Earth's orbital defense grid. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the command station, watching as enemy fleets took positions around Earth. The aliens had stopped their advance, apparently studying humanity's defenses before launching their final attack. Status report. Carter ordered. Commander Megan Turner checked her displays. 38 orbital platforms are operational. All Earth-based ships are in position. Ground forces are ready for planetary defense. Major Ashley Clark commanded Earth's ground forces, knowing that conventional weapons would be useless against alien technology. Her soldiers were spread across every continent, ready to fight a war they could not win. At least we'll make them pay for every city, Ashley told her officers. If this is humanity's last stand, we'll make it one they remember. The first sign of the final battle came when both alien fleets began fighting each other. Kryn and Vex. Ships opened fire as each empire tried to claim the best position for attacking Earth. The space around humanity's home world became a battlefield as ancient enemies settled old scores. They're really doing it, breathed Captain Mitchell as he watched alien ships destroy each other. They hate each other as much as they hate us. Admiral Carter saw opportunity in the chaos. All ships attack targets of opportunity. While there, distracted fighting each other, we might be able to inflict real damage. Earth's fleet struck at both alien forces, targeting damaged ships and vessels separated from their main groups. For a brief moment, it seemed like humanity might have a chance, but the alien commanders quickly realized their mistake. Both fleets pulled back from each other and turned their full attention to Earth. The message was clear. They would settle their rivalry after dealing with the human problem. The orbital bombardment began at dawn. Alien energy beams struck Earth's defensive platforms, destroying them one by one, despite their architect-inspired shields. Human ships fought desperately to protect the installations, but they were overwhelmed by superior numbers and technology. Captain Mitchell's ship was caught between 2 Kryn destroyers. His crew fought bravely, but their weapons could not penetrate alien armor. The Guardian exploded in a flash of light, taking Mitchell and his crew with it. One by one, Earth's defenders fell. The orbital platforms were destroyed or abandoned. Human ships died trying to protect their home world. Within hours, alien forces controlled the space around Earth. Admiral, we've lost orbital superiority, reported Commander Turner, her voice filled with despair. Enemy landing craft are approaching the surface. Admiral Carter watched helplessly as alien troops began descending toward Earth's cities. Humanity's technological defenses had failed. Now it would come down to ground combat with weapons that could barely hurt their enemies. Dr. Collins made one last desperate attempt to contact the human ships searching for Architect facilities. Her message went out into space, carrying humanity's final hope. This is Dr. Amy Collins calling any human vessel. Earth is under attack. We need immediate assistance. If you've found anything that can help us, please respond. Only silence answered her call. Major Clark's forces engaged the first alien landing parties in New York City. Human soldiers fought with everything they had, but alien technology made the battle hopeless. Energy weapons cut through human armor like paper. Alien soldiers seemed unstoppable. Fall back to secondary positions, Clark ordered as her forces retreated through burning streets. Make them fight for every block. Similar battles raged across Earth as humanity made its final stand. In London, Tokyo, Moscow, and dozens of other cities, human defenders fought against impossible odds. They were losing, but they refused to surrender. Admiral Carter remained in her command center as alien forces closed in on her position. Earth's government had evacuated to hidden bunkers, but military leaders stayed at their posts to coordinate the final defense dot as explosions shook the mountain above her. Carter sent one last message to any human forces still fighting. This is Admiral Carter to all Earth defenders. We have fought with honor. Whatever happens next, remember that humanity never surrendered. We stood together until the end. The lights went out in the command center as alien forces breached the outer defenses. Earth's darkest hour had arrived, and hope seemed lost forever. Admiral Helen Carter crouched in the ruins of her command center, listening to the sounds of alien forces moving through the corridors above. Most of her staff was dead or captured, and Earth's defenses had crumbled in just 2 days of fighting. She prepared to make her final stand when something impossible happened. Her emergency communicator crackled to life on a frequency that should not exist. The signal was coming from somewhere in deep space, using encryption codes that had been classified for 50 years. Admiral Carter, this is Commander Nick Patterson aboard the UN's Horizon. Please respond on Secure Channel 7. Helen stared at the device in disbelief. There was no ship called the UN's Horizon in Earth's fleet. She had memorized every vessel under her command, and Nick Patterson was not one of her officers. Yet, the signal was definitely human, and it was using military protocols from decades ago. This is Admiral Carter, she replied cautiously. Identify yourself and your vessel. Admiral, I command the UN's Horizon, flagship of the Deep Space Fleet. We are approaching Earth's solar system with 5,437 vessels. Request permission to engage enemy forces. Helen's legs gave out from shock. 5,000 ships? That was impossible. Earth's entire space fleet had never numbered more than 300 vessels, and most of those were destroyed in the past 2 days. Commander Patterson, that's impossible. Earth doesn't have 5,000 ships. Admiral, we've been waiting 50 years for this day. Project Deep Space is finally going active. Stand by for authentication codes. The communicator transmitted a series of numbers and letters that made Helen's blood run cold. These were authorization codes known only to the highest levels of government, codes that supposedly unlocked humanity's deepest secrets. She had heard rumors that such codes existed, but she never believed they were real. The truth began to emerge through fragments of encrypted communications. 50 years ago, a secret expedition led by Admiral Jonathan Blake had discovered evidence of hostile alien civilizations in the galaxy. Blake had convinced a hidden council of world leaders that humanity needed to prepare for eventual contact with these enemies. The council had initiated Project Deep Space in absolute secrecy, using technology captured from covert encounters with alien scouts. They had built massive shipyards in hidden locations throughout the outer solar system. These facilities had been constructing warships for 5 decades, crewed by volunteers who agreed to live their entire lives in secrecy. Dr. Patricia Lee had developed revolutionary stealth technology that kept these installations invisible to both human and alien sensors. Entire cities existed in the asteroid belt and beyond, populated by humans who had been officially declared dead or missing. Admiral Carter, this is Admiral Susan Chong aboard the UNS Liberty, came another voice over the communicator. I've been commanding the 3rd Deep Space Squadron for 30 years. We've been watching this battle, waiting for authorization to reveal ourselves. Helen's mind reeled as more ships identified themselves. The UN's Victory under Captain Grace Miller. The UN's Freedom commanded by Captain Frank Rodriguez. Names and vessels that existed in no official records, yet they were clearly real and approaching Earth. How is this possible? Helen whispered. We are the children and grandchildren of the original project volunteers, explained Commander Patterson. Our parents sacrificed normal lives to build this fleet. They lived in secret bases, working in hidden factories, preparing for the day when Earth would need protection. The scope of the deception was staggering. Thousands of humans had been living double lives for decades. Scientists, engineers, military officers, and their families had disappeared from normal society to join the secret project. They had built an entire civilization in the darkness of space, dedicated to defending Earth from threats that most humans never knew existed. "Admiral, we need those activation codes," urged Admiral Chong. "We cannot engage without direct authorization from Earth's government." Helen realized she was probably the highest-ranking officer still alive and in communication with the outside world. The responsibility of unleashing humanity's secret weapon fell to her. "Computer, activate Emergency Protocol Omega-7, she commanded. "Authorization code required." The computer responded. Helen entered the numbers that Patterson had. Transmitted. The system accepted them and began broadcasting a signal that had been waiting 50 years to be sent. Across the outer solar system, hidden bases received the activation order. Ships that had been waiting in silence for decades powered up their engines and began moving toward Earth. The secret Armada was finally going to war. "Commander," Patterson's voice filled with emotion as he spoke to his fleet. "All ships, this is your commander. Project Deep Space is now active. Our parents and grandparents built us for this moment. Today we defend Earth and prove that their sacrifice was not in vain." The ships began decloaking as they approached the battle zone. Admiral Carter watched through her damaged sensors as impossible vessels appeared on her screens. These were not the small, lightly armed ships of Earth's official fleet. These were massive warships, bristling with weapons based on technology that seemed decades ahead of anything she had seen. Captain Rick Stone commanded the Unzi Defiance, a battleship that had been under construction for 20 years. His crew consisted entirely of people who had been born and raised in the secret bases, trained from childhood to fight this war. "Admiral Chong, the Defiance is ready for combat," Stone reported. "All weapon systems are operational. We're carrying the new quantum torpedoes that Dr. Lee developed." Dr. Patricia Lee had spent 30 years perfecting weapons that could match alien technology. Her quantum torpedoes used principles discovered in captured alien equipment, enhanced with human engineering. For the first time, humanity had weapons that could seriously damage enemy ships. The Kryn and Vex fleets were still fighting over the ruins of Earth's defenses when the secret Armada struck. Alien commanders were completely unprepared for the sudden appearance of thousands of human ships that had been invisible moments before. Commander Bill Hughes led the first attack wave in his ship, the UNC Vengeance. His quantum torpedoes slammed into a Kryn heavy cruiser, punching through its shields and armor like they were made of paper. The alien ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. "Direct hit," Hughes shouted. "These new weapons actually work." Both alien fleets scrambled to respond to the unexpected threat. For 2 days, they had been systematically destroying what they thought was humanity's entire military force. Now they faced an enemy that was their technological equal. Captain Donna Foster commanded the UNS Retribution, focusing her attack on the Vex flagship. Her crew had trained for this specific mission, studying alien tactics and weaknesses that had been observed over decades of covert surveillance. "Target their main power core," Foster ordered. "Intelligence reports indicate that's their most vulnerable point." The Retribution's main guns fired repeatedly, each shot guided by 50 years of accumulated knowledge about alien ship design. The Vex flagship's shields collapsed under the concentrated assault, and secondary explosions began tearing through its hull. Admiral Carter watched in amazement as humanity's secret fleet engaged both alien armadas simultaneously. These ships moved with precision that came from decades of practice. Their weapons were devastatingly effective against enemies who had considered themselves invincible. "Admiral, this is Captain Gary Mitchell aboard the UN's Redemption," came a new voice. "We've been monitoring alien communications. Both fleets are requesting reinforcements. They're scared." For the first time in days, Helen Carter smiled. The aliens who had come to exterminate humanity were calling for help. The hunters had become the hunted. Commander Patterson coordinated the battle from his flagship, directing thousands of ships with the skill of someone who had spent his entire life preparing for this moment. The secret fleet fought with the desperation of people defending their only home and the precision of the galaxy's most advanced military force. "All ships, concentrate fire on the command vessels," Patterson ordered. "If we can disrupt their leadership, the rest of their fleets will be in chaos." The tide of battle was turning. Earth's secret defenders had revealed themselves at last, and the galaxy would never be the same. The secret Armada's arrival changed everything in minutes. Commander Nick Patterson watched from the bridge of the UNS Horizon as his fleet surrounded the alien forces that had been dominating Earth's space. For the first time in the battle, human ships outnumbered their enemies. "All squadrons, execute battle plan Alpha," Patterson commanded. "We've waited 50 years for this moment. Show them what humanity can really do." Captain Grace Miller led the first wave in her ship, the UNS Victory. Her quantum torpedoes struck a Kryn battleship that had been bombarding Earth's surface. The alien vessel's shields collapsed instantly, and explosions tore through its hull. The ship that had seemed invincible moments before broke apart and died in space. "Target destroyed," Miller reported with satisfaction. Moving to engage the next enemy vessel. The Kryn fleet found itself caught between Earth's surviving defenses and Patterson's approaching Armada. War Marshal Vic Varr tried to reorganize his forces, but human ships were attacking from every direction, using tactics he had never seen before. Captain Frank Rodriguez commanded the UNS Liberty, focusing his attack on a group of Vex destroyers that were landing troops on Earth's surface. His ship's new weapons cut through alien armor like it was made of thin metal. "This is for every human city you attacked," Rodriguez said as his guns tore apart another enemy ship. Admiral Susan Chung coordinated the assault on the Vex fleet from her flagship. Her ships moved in perfect formation, each one commanded by officers who had spent decades preparing for this battle. They struck at weak points in the alien formation, causing maximum damage while avoiding enemy counterattacks. "Vex Overlord Zinthara, this is Admiral Chung," she broadcast on all frequencies. "You came here to destroy humanity. Instead, you're about to learn why that was a mistake." Both alien fleets tried to retreat, but Patterson's ships were faster and better coordinated. The secret Armada had been built with advanced engines that used technology borrowed from captured alien scouts. Human ships could match their enemies' speed and outmaneuver them in battle. Commander Bill Hughes led a strike, force that targeted the Kryn command ship. His quantum torpedoes punched through its heavy armor, destroying the bridge where War Marshal Vic Varr had been commanding the invasion. The loss of their leader threw the entire Kryn fleet into confusion. "Kryn command ship destroyed," Hughes reported. "Enemy fleet is breaking formation." Captain Dana Foster attacked the Vex flagship with surgical precision. Her crew had studied alien ship designs for years, identifying exactly where to strike for maximum effect. The Vex Overlord ship began listing as critical systems failed throughout its hull. "This is for Earth," Foster said as her final salvo crippled the enemy flagship. Overlord Zinthara's ship exploded in a green flash that lit up the darkness of Space Dot. With both fleet commanders dead, the alien invasion began to collapse. Ships that had been advancing toward Earth suddenly found themselves surrounded by human vessels equipped with weapons that could actually hurt them. Many aliens tried to surrender, but others fought to the death rather than face the shame of defeat. Dr. Amy Collins monitored the battle from her laboratory, amazed at what she was seeing. The secret fleet is using technology I've never seen before. Their weapons are even more advanced than what we found in the Architect database. Admiral Helen Carter emerged from the ruins of her command center to watch humanity's victory unfold. The orbital bombardment had stopped as alien ships fled or died. For the first time in days, Earth's skies were clear of enemy fire. "Admiral Carter, this is Commander Patterson," came the familiar voice over her communicator. "We're detecting additional alien reinforcements approaching the system." Both empires sent backup fleets when their first wave requested help. Helen felt her heart sink. Just when humanity seemed to be winning, more enemies were arriving. How many ships? Approximately 2,000 vessels combined. They'll arrive in 6 hours. Patterson's fleet had already taken casualties fighting the first wave of invaders. Even with their advanced technology, they couldn't fight endless waves of alien reinforcements. Earth needed a permanent solution to the alien threat. Dr. Collins suddenly looked up from her research station. "Admiral, I think I've found something." The Architect database mentions a weapons cache hidden in this solar system. If the location data is accurate, it's on one of Jupiter's moons. "What kind of weapons?" Carter asked. "Planet killers. Fleet destroyers. Technology so powerful that even the Kryn and Vex empires would think twice about attacking us." "Admiral." Chong's voice came over the communication channel. "Admiral Carter, we're detecting the location Dr. Collins mentioned. There's definitely something artificial buried beneath the surface of Ganymede. Take a squadron and investigate," Carter ordered. "We need those weapons before the next wave arrives." Captain Rick Stone led the expedition to Ganymede aboard the UNS Defiance. His team used advanced scanners to locate the hidden Architect facility. When they found it, the discovery exceeded everyone's expectations. "Admiral, this isn't just a weapons cache," Stone reported. "It's an entire automated factory. The Architects built it to produce defensive systems for any species that might need to fight the Kryn and Vex." The facility recognized human DNA and activated its systems. Ancient machines began producing weapons and shields designed specifically to counter alien technology. Within hours, humanity had access to tools that made their secret fleet even more powerful. "The facility is also broadcasting a signal," Stone continued. "It's sending a message to every species in the galaxy, announcing that the Architect legacy has been claimed by humanity." This news had immediate consequences. Across the galaxy, oppressed species that had been conquered by the Kryn and Vex. Empires heard the signal. For the first time in thousands of years, someone had successfully fought back against their oppressors. When the alien reinforcements arrived, they found a very different situation than they expected. Instead of a defeated human fleet, they faced thousands of ships equipped with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. Humanity had become the Architect's successors. Captain Jake Morrison, who had started this entire conflict by discovering the first Architect site, led the final battle from his ship. He carried new weapons from the Ganymede facility that could destroy entire enemy squadrons with single shots. "This is Captain Morrison to all alien vessels," he broadcast. "You came here to exterminate humanity and steal our discoveries. Instead, you've awakened something that your empires should have left sleeping." The second battle was even more decisive than the first. Alien ships died by the hundreds as humanity's enhanced fleet demonstrated its new capabilities. The survivors fled back to their home territories, carrying news that would shake both empires to their foundations. Admiral Carter stood in her rebuilt command center, watching as the last enemy ships disappeared into hyperspace. Earth was safe. But more importantly, humanity had become a major power in galactic politics. "Admiral, we're receiving communications from dozens of species across the galaxy," reported Commander Patterson. "They're asking for our help in fighting the Kryn and Vex. The oppressed worlds want to join us." Carter smiled as she realized what had happened. Humanity had not just survived the alien invasion, they had sparked a galactic revolution. The Architect legacy was spreading to every species that had ever suffered under alien tyranny. Dr. Collins joined her at the main display screen, which now showed star maps of the entire galaxy. The architects wanted to bring peace and cooperation to all species. "It looks like humanity is going to finish what they started." Captain Morrison docked his ship at the rebuilt orbital station, finally returning home after the long journey that had changed everything. He looked out at Earth's blue skies and realized that his species would never be the same. The secret fleet that had hidden in darkness for 50 years was now humanity's gift to the galaxy. Earth's children had become the guardians that the architects had always meant them to be. Commander Patterson stood on his bridge, looking at reports from across human space. The hidden shipyards were already building vessels for alien allies who wanted to join the fight for freedom. Humanity had turned from victims into liberators. "Admiral Carter, this is the beginning of something bigger than we ever imagined," Patterson said. "The galaxy is going to be a very different place from now on." Helen Carter nodded as she watched human and alien ships working together in Earth's orbit. The war that was supposed to destroy humanity had instead made them the leaders of a new galactic alliance. A tide had not just turned, it had become a tsunami that would reshape the entire universe.